another movie review. So this is one that's been on my radar basically ever since it came out years ago. I'm gonna have to look up the year that it came out because I don't know off the top of my head, but it's been a while, and I've heard it mentioned for freaking ever, it feels like, and people are like, so have you seen that yet? And I always have to admit, no, but it is, well, technically a Beatles documentary, but more like a Beatles-related documentary, but it's called Good Old Freda, which is about Freda Kelly, who was the Beatles fan club secretary, which in and of itself, I will be the first to admit, doesn't exactly sound like the most exciting thing on the planet to watch, but people rave about this frickin' documentary, so I mean, there had to be something to this. It was kind of like that, who is Harry Nilsson and why is everybody talking about him, even though I'm a Nilsson fan. The documentary itself, I heard people rave about for ages before I actually got around to watching it, and when I did, I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever. Well, I wouldn't say that this is the best thing ever, but it was good and a lot more interesting than I gave credit to, than I would have expected it to be. Honestly, what a life this woman has led. Holy crap. So this woman is from Liverpool, I believe, even, and she was like one of us. She was a full-on hardcore Beatles fan from before they even really got famous. She was seeing them at the Cavern Club. Out of the 200-something times that they played there, she said she probably saw about 190 of those performances with no exaggeration. And I'm like, damn! Even just that fact alone, even if she hadn't worked for them, even if there was nothing else to this story, just that right there, I'm like, holy crap, to have even seen them once at the Cavern, much less that many times, I'm like, holy shit. I mean, if, time machine for real, I know where I'd be going, but, damn, but it was pretty much just like by fluke, chance, and luck that she ended up working for them as their secretary. She'd already been working as a secretary and kind of like, I don't know if a stenopool is really the term I'm looking for here, but kind of. I don't know. I would have to watch it again to see the term she used there. But basically, it was a whole room full of women at typewriters just typing shit up. So I'm like, oh, so basically the 60s version of what I do at home. Okay. So if I were in the 60s, I apparently would have had a shot if I had lived in the right area. Damn, that kind of sucks. But anyway, just circumstances, but anyhow, she was in the right place at the right time, was a huge freaking fan of these guys. Not only ended up getting to work for them, she was the one that wrote the little note every month in every Beatles Monthly magazine, which I will admit, I have some of them physically, but I have the whole collection of them digitally. So I have read these, and I'm like, damn, actually being able to put a face to the name is really cool. But a lot of Beatle fans may only recognize her as just, like, the brief mention she gets by, like, name in one of the early Beatle Christmas records, because she does get a name drop there. It may have even been the first one. It was either the first or second. I want to say it was the first one, though. But anywho, so she started out answering fan mail for them. She foolishly used her home address for this and had no idea how big this band was about to get and the huge influx of mail that was about to happen. And it got to where, like, they were even taking their own personal fan mail they were getting and bringing it to her to answer. And when it came to Ringo's, he only had 9 letters. I wanted to cry. I'm like, oh, Ringo, my baby boy. Oh. And even she felt bad for him for that. But, it's just one of those things. I'm like, damn, Ringo, how did you go from 9 letters at a time to no more fan mail? I'm still salty, guys. I wrote to him every day for a year and didn't get one response. I will forever be salty over that, but, anyway. And she went on about all the details of what it was like to answer all their questions. She knew their families. She hung out with them. She was, like, so close with Ringo's family specifically to where they kind of, like, unofficially adopted her as, like, the daughter they never had, which I'm like, oh my god! And she hung out with, like, Paul's dad and his stepmom. She hung out with John's Aunt Mimi. She hung out with George's parents. I'm like, my heart. I'm so jealous I could cry. Like, holy crap. This is one of those things where it's like, I guess logically I knew, but actually hearing it come out of her mouth and seeing the photos and the proof of this stuff, I'm like, kill me a little more. Twist the knife a little deeper. Oh. But, damn. And then the name drop that she dated some of them. She wouldn't say which one or ones, and she wouldn't say anything like a kiss and tell kind of thing, but I'm like, so basically you banged them, and you don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, those would be some stories I would like to hear, but, yeah, anyway, she's not going to. Don't harass her. She's not going to. She specified that in the interview, but anyway. But yeah, and just, like, talked about what it was like to basically ride that wave on the outskirts of it along with them, of just being this little local group to being the biggest band the world has ever seen, and kind of just being on the outskirts of it, sometimes being at these events with them and stuff. I mean, some of these video clips and just photos I've seen a million times. I apparently have seen her in these without even realizing I was seeing her in them. I didn't know that was her. Honest to God, I'm just like, oh my god, it's not fair. Man. And going on how fans would ask for small requests, like an autograph, or a piece of their shirt, or a piece of their hair, and this is one of, like, the only bands where it's like, the little hair clippings mailed out actually were legit theirs. And one of her co-workers that she had working for her that tried to cheat at this one time, she fired the entire damn crew and did this as, like, a singleton from then on because she couldn't trust him after that. She was like, nope, I'm not having my head on the chopping block for you screwing up. So it's like, oh wow. I just always assumed the whole Beatles hair clippings thing, I mean, I've heard about it for years, but I just assumed it's like every other band back then that had, like, those little magazine blurbs about that where it's like, yeah, sure, you got somebody's hair. Who knows who you actually got? Probably isn't actually them. Could be just a rando down the street. You have no idea. But, I mean, I know there's a Liza Minnelli one. I've seen her up on eBay. I'm like, I'm not even sure that shit is human hair, much less it's definitely not hers. But, like, that looks like it was chopped off a synthetic wig. Like, you are fooling nobody, guys. But, I mean, the Monkees had these all the damn time, and they claim that theirs were legit, but I'm like, I doubt it. I have serious doubts. But then again, I had doubts about the Beatles ones too, and apparently those turned out to be legit, so who the fuck knows? But going on about that, and about what it was like to deal with Brian, what it was like to deal with the Beatles one-on-one, how there was one event where the Moody Blues were also at it, and she went and hung out with them for a little bit and came back to them, and John got all butthurt and was like, oh, well, guess you're their secretary now. Wait, what? And he, like, acted like she was fired, but was all serious about it, so she was like, wait, really? And asked the other three, am I sacked? And they're like, no, of course not. And even he tried to backpedal when she was like, oh, okay, I see how it is. I'll work for those three and not for you then. And she made him get down on one knee and apologize to her and beg her to come back. I'm like, God damn, you got John Lennon to beg you as a woman to come back. I'm just like, that is some power right there. Holy shit, that speaks volumes of just how highly they felt of this woman to be able to have that kind of power over John. I'm like, oh, wow. That's... And it, obviously, there's the rise and then there's the fall, and she documents all of that and how things started to go awry after Brian died, and as things got nastier. I mean, she doesn't go into that end of it as much, but I mean, it does get a mention, and how it just happened to coincide with pretty much the end of the band, that she got married, she got pregnant, she wanted to just have a normal family life, and she was ready to just hang up the towel, and I mean, there was no more band by that point anyway, so they said, you know, if you're going, you've been with us from the beginning, we're not going to replace you, just end the fan club. So that's what she did, and that was the end of that, and it just happenstance that it happened to line up with the years that the Beatles were a thing, but I'm just like, wow. And the fact that in all those years, she never capitalized on, she didn't take all the Beatle things she had and like sell them off or anything. She gave a lot of them away to legit Beatle fans. She did not sell them, she gave them away, and I'm like, oh my god, she's one of the good ones. She's one of the good ones. Oh my god. She never wrote a book because she just didn't feel that was right to try and make money off her story that way. And it wasn't until after her son died and her grandson was born that she was like, you know, maybe I should at least just put my story down once just so my grandson will know how cool a life I had back in the 60s and doesn't just look at me in the corner as like a gray-haired old lady with a cat on her lap thinking, what's she ever done? He'll actually be able to know, because it'll all be down, and if I didn't do it now, I'd never do it. I'm like, I respect that. She didn't go into this for the money. She went into it for her family. I'm like, and even her family went on to say how, yeah, this is not something she ever just talks about. She really doesn't. You would never know unless you knew who she was, that was even a thing she did. And that just blows my freaking mind. I'm over here like, I'm pretty sure if that were me, I would be like, no offense, I'd be milking that shit for the rest of my life. Sorry, but I would. I mean, we've seen my slight brush of fame with Pete Townsend and the fact that I never shut up about it ever, that, yeah, I worked for him for 3 years, boom, but, yeah, way the fuck better story. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I would never shut up for the rest of all eternity for the rest of my life if that were me. So the fact that she just tucked it under her hat and kept it quiet all these years until now, and even just for this, she's still super soft-spoken about it all and kind of shy about it and only tells as much as needs to be said about any given thing. I'm like, wow. What a lady. And just, again, what a life she has led. Super duper jealous, not gonna lie, but super impressed. I am glad that I finally sat down and watched that. It was a very enjoyable watch. Like I said, just the premise alone, I would not have expected to be as interesting as it is. But if you have the opportunity to watch this documentary and you're a Beatles fan, I think you will find it very interesting to see that this is a very unique take on the story. I mean, we've all heard the traditional Beatles documentary story over and over to death at this point. There's not too many people left who can really bring a new angle to it at this point in time. It's all people just retelling the same info over and over again, to where it's starting to skew, it's starting to get to be like a game of telephone, but this is one of the few that's left that was actually there, who actually lived it, who actually had their own unique story with this. So, for that, I found it very interesting and very enjoyable to watch. If I had to put a number rating on it, I'd probably give it maybe a 4 out of 5. The only reason I don't give it the 5 out of 5 is that they used a lot of covers of songs instead of the Beatle versions of songs. I imagine this was because of licensing rights and costs of things. I feel like I would have enjoyed it just that much more if they'd actually used more of the actual Beatles songs themselves in it instead of covers, or actually, I shouldn't even say covers. They went with, like, the originals that the Beatles did the covers of, and I'm like, but this is about the Beatles. Can we just use the Beatle versions, please? Thank you. But between that, and there are a few slower parts of it, which, I mean, I get it, it's her life. We can't expect every moment of it to be super crazy exciting. It's just the pacing of the length of it and how long is spent on the early part, and then the later years, it's like, we squeezed it down into this much. It's like, it's kind of uneven the way that it's partitioned out for the length of it. It's like most of it is from like the beginning of the story up till when Brian died, and then everything from Brian dying to the end of this is like, you know. So if it were a little more even keel with the rest of it, I think that would push it up to a 5 for me. But it's still very enjoyable and a very unique, interesting story that I would highly recommend for you guys. So, anyways, that is about it for me for this one. So you guys know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe, hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload, leave comments down below. Have you ever seen this documentary? What do you think of it? Let me know down below, as well as anything else about anything at all. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Etsy, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. And as always, guys, if you need to hear it today and you haven't yet, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're doing a good job today. See you next time. Bye-bye.